Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us this morning. And before I begin, could you please keep your microphone on mute, and you can keep your video off if you like. And we will take questions at the end of the presentation. So again, good morning or good afternoon if you're in another part of the country. It's a beautiful day here. I hope it's nice where you are too. Thank you for attending, and we hope you find this useful. We have from the Richmond International Program, Sean, Anita, Carrie, and Emmy are here, and they will be doing part of this presentation. And also from CM Global English, we have Daphne and Stephanie and myself, Tony. So welcome. This is a joint presentation, and we are going to do it in two parts, and I'm going to start here. So Canadians, students, when they arrive in Canada, deserve a quality assessment. They deserve a quality education, and they deserve a quality assessment that is accurate, reliable, and easy to administer, and is thorough. A good assessment is the first step in getting the best instructional support and in having a great experience in your program. Many of your students will become future Canadians. As you know, a lot of them go on to university and then they get landed. And so for them and for the country, it's really important that they are able to reach their fullest potential. And part of that is being totally fluent in English. Fluency in English is not just about survival English, but it's also about academic English. And a good assessment ensures that they get the right instructional support that's not too easy, not too hard, and they're able to have a successful experience in your program. Our assessment is easy to administer, and it can be taken anywhere, and is designed for Canadian K-12. It's the servers are located in Canada, and it's Canadian content. So what makes a quality assessment? Well, we've done extensive field testing. Thank you to Richmond, where we've done a lot of our field testing. We've done it in Canada and also overseas. And we've taken that extensive field testing with all our various forms of part of our subtests, and have taken it to our colleagues at UBC. And from there, they've done statistical analysis of our submeasures, and we have very, very high accuracy. It's a very reliable assessment between forms, and measures what it claims to measure. How well can a student do, and how much support would they need when they're in a regular Canadian environment? So again, this would not have been possible for CM Global English without the great support that we've had throughout the years from the Richmond International Program. And I'd like to turn it over now to Sean, who will tell you why they're using us and how they use us.
Hello again, everyone. Just making sure everyone can hear me. Thumbs up. Yep. Just put on my headset. The weather out here on the West Coast actually has been, I think, exceptionally spectacular throughout this whole pandemic. I don't know if Mother Nature's, that was her idea of a cruel joke, or she's been helping us out, but the weather remains beautiful. And just as I was about to jump on to talk, they're cutting the grass and weed eating the lawn out in front of my office. So I wanted to make sure you could all hear me. It's all a good thing, though. We're all happy. Yeah, my name is Sean Stephan, Director of International Education here in Richmond School District, for those of you that don't know me. My four colleagues, I had a brief introduction from Tony. Our purpose of doing this joint session with CM Global English is we've used their online assessment for many, many years, and we thought it might be helpful. At this time of the year, April, May, we tend to get a lot of questions, as I'm sure all you do, about ELL assessments. It's that time of the year. So we thought it was, a good time maybe to maybe do this joint session with them. And our purpose is to be able to just animate what you see in their presentation on their website and all the words that we actually use the assessment. And so that's why my colleagues, our senior manager, Carrie Lee's here, our manager of short-term programs, Anita Huang, and our assistant coordinator of short-term programs, Emmy Christensen, is here with us because they all have a process and active role in the process of delivering our EL assessment here in our district. And also, I've benefited over the years from my colleagues and other peers here in Metro Vancouver, across the province, across the country, with best practices. And so we're just happy if we can, in some small way, to be able to sort of share our experiences with our peers as well. As you can see, the history of EL assessment in the Richmond School District goes back quite a ways. I think before 1998, before the pen and or pencil and paper assessment here in Richmond, the district sort of imported, and Tony and Daphne might be able to add some more details on this if you wish. Sort of an imported American, excuse me, assessment that wasn't perfect. It was something that was needed. In those days, in the 90s, the Richmond School District wanted to see themselves as a leader in EL assessment. And so the goal was they had to start somewhere, have some kind of an assessment. And so it started with that, and then it morphed into sort of the pencil and paper assessment as we move forward. For us, we started using CM Global English online assessment for grade 8 to 12 in around 2015. And on the next slide, I will explain why we started using the assessment. And as you can see by the dates, we've slowly expanded that and grown that. So our district uses it for international, for domestic students, non-international students, on their initial assessment into the district. And as we have moved forward, we've been able to expand and pilot the assessment for grade 4 to grade 7. And our district, our adult education department, started using the online assessment as well. And then now we've also started piloting the grade 2 and 3 assessment as well. So right now we are using CM Global English online assessment from grade 2 to grade 12 for our international students. And our school district is also using it for non-international students as well on their initial assessment. Next slide, please. Right, and so the reasons why we started to, we moved to using the CM Global English's online assessment, first and foremost, is our program was growing. Our program really started to grow in a significant way around 2008 and really started to grow. So we were kind of outgrowing our colleagues in our ELL department's ability to accommodate our student needs as well. So we needed an opportunity to be able to accurately assess our students. We wanted to maintain the accuracy, not lose the accuracy, obviously maintain the accuracy, but also be able to assess our students as quickly as possible to get that information, that accurate assessment to the end users, which are at our schools, the counselors, and into our database and into our district databases as quickly as possible. That would allow the schools to be able to timetable the students accurately and quickly. The schools really liked having the assessments at their fingertips quickly. It also allowed us to save a lot on the cost saving side. Our first year, when we moved to using the online assessment, we saved about $75,000. And for us, as we're an international program, that's a savings to our budget, but ultimately it's a savings to the district as well. And that savings we'd be able to compound year over year. The assessment has also allowed us to have some sense of standardization as well. It's used for us as the initial assessment, but it can be used for what we call the spring census here, which no one likes that term, by the way, in this district, but that's what we call it. It can be used effectively in that purpose as well, if needed. The results are quick, instantaneous. We build so many efficiencies on being able to get the assessment accurately into our True North database. We use True North database, and it's integrated now and get that into the database and then into MyEdBC quickly and efficiently, so everyone that needs to have access to that information can have it quickly. It really allows us to save time and support our schools more effectively. Our goal is here in our international program, which I'm sure for those of you in international programs, is just we try to keep our heads down, our noses down, our tails up, and keep things as smooth and efficient for everyone in our district, including our schools. So we want them to, and they do, to embrace international education, embrace our international students, and make things as simple and as easy for them as possible. And using the CM Global English assessment allows us to do that. It also allows us to enhance allows our students to have a better opportunity to be successful. We can see that year over year here in our district as well, that I think Richmond does very well in completion rates and graduation rates for ELL students, graduating on time or completing within a 5-year period. We've been able to maintain and rise to and maintain a high level of success in that way. And a lot of our student mobility, when we track our international students, they're able to graduate on time or complete their studies on time, and many of them move on directly to universities in Canada and back home in their home countries and elsewhere. So we do feel that having an effective assessment, in particular using the CM Global English assessment, allows us to help set up the students to be successful as possible. And it's really, and when we go through this process, when my colleagues Carrie and Emmy and Anita will sort of touch on the various aspects of the process, you'll see, at least from our perspective, it's very simple and easy to use. There's very few hiccups or challenges at all that we have found. And we do use, you'll hear this later on as well, we do have a control group. This assessment we can deliver to students overseas as well, can be done here. We do every year have a control group where we do, we have done this for many, many years, that will do the ELL assessment while they're overseas before they arrive. And the others the majority we do as part of our orientation process here, which is in person, but of course this year, as it has been for you, has been virtual. So we've been able to incorporate the assessment as part of the orientation virtually. So, and that will allows us to also sort of A/B test what we looked at, to sort of A/B test the assessment. Are we finding that the assessments done overseas are similar and same that we see here with students here? We want to make sure that we maintain the integrity of the assessment, that the assessment is accurate. One of the biggest challenges, I'm sure you guys as well come across this, is making sure that the students and the parents and the custodians and agencies understand this is an assessment. It's not a test. It's not a pass-fail that they're an A or a B or a C student, that it's an assessment. And having an accurate assessment allows us to timetable them and support their needs to the best of our ability. It allows them to access our BC education here, or the education in your home provinces, wherever you may be. And as I say, to reach their goals and move on to post-secondary studies. So I will now, for the time being, pass the torch to my colleague.
Thank you, Sean. Hi, I'm Carrie. We offer CM Global Assessment to all our new students from grade 2 to grade 12. There are 3 levels in width: late primary in grade 2 and 3, intermediate, grade 4 to 7, and secondary, grade 8 to 12. In grade 2 to grade 7, new students have the only option to do it on-site during our new students orientation. In grade 8 to grade 12, the secondary level, new students also have the option to take the year assessment offshore in May, as early as May. The advantage of our early offshore ELL assessment is that the secondary school students can take it at home at their convenient time or in an agency office in an arranged time. New students do not have to retake it upon arrival in Richmond when they feel jet lagged or when they're just overwhelmed with the new environment and registration. On our side, the school counselors also get the result ASAP, review courses availability, and pencil in a timetable now for the incoming students in September. In terms of its depth, the assessment tool contains grammar, reading, listening, and a writing sample. Time ranges from 60 minutes in late primary to 105 minutes in secondary level. Later in this presentation, we will walk through our ELL assessment process and steps. This is a CM Global student portal where the student logs in to begin their assessment. The portal is simple and user-friendly. Students will receive their login information, including the user ID and the password from our team at Advance. On their assessment day, they enter the unique user ID and password to begin. Once they log in, the student will land on this instruction page, where they will read through the instruction again about the steps before they proceed. This is also the page where they can test their computer audio or their headphone. This is the administrator page, which has a similar look and feel of the student login page. On the back end, we as the administrators, we log in using our own administrator ID and password to retrieve the ELL results. It also contains a list of resources that we find it very helpful because we get to comprehend the students' language ability and how best to support the language needs in appropriate ELL level. So once we log in, we will see a list of tabs on the left side of the main menu. Later in this presentation, Anita will show you how we use the second tab, Reports, to retrieve ELL results. Right now, I just want to point out one of the tabs, which is the Resources on the left side. One thing that is worth mentioning is that I personally really like going into this resources list and read through these documents, as they help me understand the depth of this CM Global application. When we were invited to do any RIE presentation with our 10 high school ELL head teachers, they were engaged in learning about CM Global. Many of the teachers were very impressed when they realized its reliability, accuracy, and validity. They also recognized the time saver for them because they now can allot their time to support in-class learning for their students, because they don't have to supervise the ELL assessment in the start of the school year when that month is always hectic. They also move away from the pencil and paper assessment, which they need to process it, evaluate it, and determine the ELL level. Also under resources, we pull up the raw score conversion chart just to show how the grading is converted into each ELL level. This chart is just at the secondary level. I know that CM Global has a conversion chart for the other two groups, which is the late primary and intermediate groups. Everyone likes to put things into perspective. Many overseas parents are familiar with TOEFL, IELTS, CEFR, all those assessment tools. This chart serves as an assessment equivalency as long as we are mindful that CM Global is intended to be age appropriate, focusing on primary and secondary students. This chart can help parents understand the child's language ability when they compare. Now, I will pass it to my colleague Anita to walk through a main feature on CM Global, Reports, which is the second tab on the left side of the main menu. Now pass it on to you, Anita.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Carrie. Hi, everyone. So after the student has completed the assessment, we can go to the portal and search for the result for the individual students or by the date range to search for multiple students. As an administrator, we can view the results, download the certificate, export to PDF, export the patch to CSV. Once you click View, you will be directed to this page for the individual result. You are able to see the results of each section: grammar, reading, listening, and writing. We can download the result in PDF format and send to the students. Administrator will receive a report automatically each evening for those students who has taken the ELL assessments on that day. This is a very detailed report. Students and parents love to receive something official. We can print a certificate of completion for our students. We find the certificate is especially useful for our short-term programs for groups and individual students. They love to receive a certificate to prove their accomplishment in Canada. There are 3 phases of the ELL assessments procedure. Before the assessment, during the assessment, and after the assessment. We have created a 1-page instructional sheet that we send to the parents and students in advance to prepare for the assessment. We can share this with you after the presentation. Of course, school can create their own or use what we have and customize it to suit your needs. This is the student login page on the date of assessment. Now I pass the time to Amy Christensen and she will show you on the date of student assessment. Thank you. Here you go, Amy.
Thanks, Anita. Hi, I'm Amy. So this is the student login page on the day of the assessment. The login info has been shared with the students prior to the assessment day. So they will enter their user ID and password here. One common error we often encounter is that a student is making a typo on the password. So CM Global has the function of making the password visible, the I. So this function is really helpful. As facilitators, we often actually use the I function to resolve the student's error. So once the student has logged in successfully, they can check their audio sound on their headphones or computer audio. Before taking the assessment, students have the final opportunity to read through the instruction, which was also given beforehand. This is how it looks like when one student is taking the assessment and one of our team members is facilitating the assessment. At the beginning of the assessment, we walk through how the assessment goes and go over the instruction with the student and make sure they understand before they start. In normal conditions though, the onshore assessment will be conducted in person during the new student orientation week. However, during the current circumstances with the COVID-19 restrictions, we are conducting the assessment over Zoom with the consent of their parents, while the student is self-isolating here in Canada. This is when we have multiple students taking the assessment at the same time. Zoom allows us to facilitate this virtually. Facilitators are just simply there to assist the students if they have internet connection issues or login problems. After the assessment is completed, you can extract the result directly on the CM Global website and download as an Excel file to share with the schools. As we mentioned earlier, we can also download the PDF version of the individual assessment report to share with the students and parents. For short-term students, we also issue a certificate of completion. This is how the result looks like in our database True North. We understand you may use a different international students database to keep your student files. For us, we use True North, and CM Global has integrated with True North. This has increased our efficiency when results are transferred to True North automatically and instantly. It's like within a minute after the assessment is done. So this helps us a lot, especially during new student orientation. This is also beneficial for schools to be able to view the results in real time so that counselors can plan the courses for students without any delays. Thank you so much, everyone. So you can also email one of us after this meeting if anything else comes to mind later on or wish to have a copy of this PowerPoint. Thank you.
So once again, we'll just quickly go through what the actual assessment looks like. The listening portion measures social and academic English as it would appear, as a student would experience it in the classroom. Of course, it starts off easy and it gets far more difficult as you get towards the end of the assessment. The reading assessment is a multiple choice closed assessment, and it's fiction and nonfiction, and it has 10 passages with different degrees of readability. All of our assessment is randomized so that the student never does the same assessment twice, but the accuracy is assured. And so if you wanted to measure the student's growth in English over the course of the year, the student could take the assessment again at the end of the semester or the end of the school year, and it would be a completely different assessment as far as the student is concerned, because we have many, many forms, and those forms are all randomized. And as I said earlier, the reliability between forms is very, very high. The secondary grammar assessment, and again, the intermediate looks similar and the late primary looks similar, but we're just showing you the secondary for this demonstration. Again, it starts off quite simple and then it gets far more complicated. And we're measuring Canadian Standard English. What do students need to be successful academically in a Canadian environment? And then we get a writing assessment. This is it's actually a writing sample. We have a writing scoring matrix that you're welcome to use, but we find most people have their own matrices for determining writing support. But we have a number of topics that the student is randomly assigned one to write on. And depending upon whether it's for intermediate, primary, or secondary, the topics will differ in the topic. We also work with some continuing ed adult programs where students are acquiring English in order to complete their high school diploma or to take some courses offered by the institution. And those topics are geared towards an adult participant. Now, sometimes when you look at those raw scores, as a teacher, you have that final professional judgment, of course, to determine exactly how much support a student may need. And we do also have a paper and pencil speaking assessment that you could give to your students. It's not part of the package, but it's there, it's free. And we find that a lot of people like giving the paper and pencil speaking assessment, and that can just confirm, if you're not sure, is this student at the support level 2 or support level 3, we'll give them the speaking assessment and we'll see if we can be a little bit more exact in determining the exact level of support. And as mentioned earlier, we have many, many in-class activities. We especially have quite an extensive document that talks about supporting students at the beginning level and supporting students at the advanced level, supporting students for social English and supporting students for academic English. Again, we are an accurate, reliable, and easy to use online assessment, and it's for K-12 in Canadian schools. This is the information if you'd like to contact us. And we'd like to now turn it back over to Sean and go from there.
So I'm back. Yeah, if there's any, again, if there's any questions that you have right now while we're on, please fire them into the chat box, and then whomever is best able to answer those questions will do that. But of course, you have all of our contact information. If it's anything specific about CM Global English, obviously, please contact Tony Daphne or Stephanie. Anything about the process, or again, the why and the how and any of that, we're obviously happy to answer your questions there. Also to say that, and we've done this in the past as a district, is worked with other districts to help support or deliver the ELL assessments in their districts if need be. If that would be helpful, we're also willing, our department, international department here, would be willing and able to help facilitate that for you. I know MyEd BC, the AIP related to ELL is going to be added to MyEd BC. I think it's going to be ready to go in September. So that will simplify information sharing and data entry greatly. CM Global English, we do use a True North database, so it's really helpful that CM Global English's assessment is integrated into the database. And then we can actually, in that AIP, is going to be extremely helpful for all sorts of reasons, but also to get that information into the student profiles as well. So if there's some way that we could help you with that, helping to facilitate the assessments or batching the results to you, or even uploading them to MyEd BC, if that's helpful, we'd be happy to talk to you about how we might be able to do that. So questions, I see one, I think. Oh, no, that's just the encouragement to ask questions.
Well, we'd like to thank Sean, Carrie, Anita, and Emmy for walking us through the welcoming process in Richmond International Education. And please, everyone, if you have a question, as Sean said, please put them in the chat, and whoever and any of the team here can answer them for you.
Okay, we do have one question. How are the writing samples marked? It's a writing sample that teachers like to be able to look at, to see that snapshot in time as to what the student is capable of that particular time, understanding that it is in a testing environment where people are nervous and it's on an iPad and so forth. We do take out a lot of the automatic features that the computer has there, so that it's an authentic writing sample. And there is a scoring matrix included in the dashboard. Everything in the dashboard in the back end, all the resources, the additional assessments and that's all free. That's all part of the package. Another question we had is, what is the cost for secondary students? For secondary, intermediate, and primary, it's the same cost. It ranges from $19 up to $49, depending upon the size of the package of assessments that you order. There is a startup cost, but as this is still part of the CAPC conference, we're waiving that startup cost. Is there any other questions? We should also mention that not everybody uses Zoom to assess students when they're overseas or when they're stuck at home. Some folks have just taken the trust that the student is doing the assessment herself. And as Carrie has said, and we've heard from other clients, there tends to be, most people are honest, and they tend to, they want to do what's best for their kids. And if people understand that this is not a high stakes breaker entry, whether you're going to get into university or not kind of assessment, that people will hand the assessment over to their kids, and the kids will be the ones that take the assessment. We've had very, very few cases where the Zoom or online assessment has not lined up with the expectation of the student's ability.
Just
And
if I just jump, sorry, I'll just jump in to add to that. That's exactly our experience. Very, very few, almost no examples, very few of where students were not, where the assessment was not accurate. Our EL department as well, our EL teachers at our schools, in fact, after a while, they were asking when can they start using our online assessment for the domestic students. And since our district has moved to using the assessment for non-international students, it's gone smooth. There's been no, the accuracy is there. The teachers are seeing that they're accurate, and the students are as well prepared for the courses as they can be. So that we could definitely, our experience has been exactly that as well. And also, I'll just add, I was a little bit BC centric there. I apologize. I was mentioning about the MyEd BC and True North, but of course, for those of you that are in other provinces, you'll be using different databases and whatnot. But my offer to be helpful and useful to you, if I can, is still there, that we can maybe help facilitate and deliver these assessments for you and get all the accurate information batched to you quickly and efficiently. Sorry, Tony, over to you.
Thanks, Sean. Yes, not everybody uses True North. Whether you use True North or your own database, our dashboard also has our own database, and you can get reports in various formats. And in addition, if you do use our assessment as a year-over-year or semester-over-semester assessment, we do record all of the assessment results year-over-year. So you will have an ongoing record of each of your students, and you can do that individually, or you can do that as your entire population. And okay, we get another question about cost breakdown. So if you are ordering, you want to just try it out, and you only want 20 assessments, it works out to $49 each. So you're looking at just under $1,000 for 20 assessments. If you want to go up, the price goes down to the point that if you're ordering over 500, it's $19 per assessment. There's no annual fee, and the assessments are non-expiring, so it's good for as long as you want it. Non-expiring. And we can talk about that later. We can set this up almost immediately. If you decided that you wanted to try it and you wanted 100 assessments or 20, we could get that to you within 24 hours, and you would be ready to go this time tomorrow to assess your students. Colleen has her hand up. Colleen, if you want to just go ahead and ask the question.
Sure. I just was to Sean and his team, as I'm not sure how it works in the rest of Canada. For us here with our restored classroom language, it's for us anyways in our school district, every single ELL student counts. So for us to just do, like, we have to do a full ELL assessment for every one of our students. So we use Vital English when they're in their home country, gives us a sort of a baseline idea of where students are at, but we have to assess them once they're here because they count for remedy in our classrooms. So that's a big thing for us, and I'm just not sure if Richmond ELL students count for remedy, because they do count for us whether they're domestic or international, which means that teachers get additional money by having 3 or more ELL students or special ed students in their class. So I'm just curious if this is why you've moved this way to sort of offset and take that all into account.
Yeah, that's a good question. No, that's not the same challenges or same issues that we have in Richmond. As I said, it was part of it, the motivation for us at the start was simply that our program just started to grow. We were a nice sized program, and then we really started to grow and fairly quickly, and really until COVID-19. And so our ability to be able to assess our international students quickly, sometimes our EL department would be about 2 or 3 weeks. I don't want to say behind, but sometimes the students would have to, whether they're international or non-international students, be in the classrooms for a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks before they could get their assessment and then back. And then we would also have to, we would actually pay for the teachers to come in, the assessors to do the assessment. So they would get lieu time, for example, in that regard. And then also we would two of us would go overseas for about 2 or so weeks and deliver the assessments, the pencil and paper assessments to students directly overseas. And then we would pump that information back to our office here in our schools. So that they could get the information as quickly as they could. So using CM Global English allowed us to simplify, that process significantly, and redeploy sort of our human resources and our financial resources from delivering and processing the assessments, and then we can sort of redeploy that to getting the kids into the classrooms in front of their teachers much more quickly and and timetabled as quickly as possible, and just sort of that time and money and effort. So like our educators are not spending time pumping in data into 3 different sources and printing a hard copy and shuffling files around and all that. We can actually in our mind stretch the dollars to support student learning better, more efficiently. So yeah, on the remedy side, that has not been an issue. It's actually, I don't know how much smoother the process could have gone for us when we initiated it. The schools loved it. I know they just think they've really appreciated just being able to get the assessment as quickly as they do, and it allows them to simplify their planning and their staffing and whatnot. And the accuracy is there. As I say, we've not had that issue. So yeah, no, as far as remedy and as far as any kind of pushback at all, or any kind of complications or hiccups, there really hasn't been any for us. And I appreciate that every district will be different, certainly in BC, but also of course across the country as well. But that's been our experience anyway.
And also just to add to that, for the regular program in Richmond, not looking at the international, but the regular incoming ELL students, they have found it a really efficient process. They don't have the remedy scenario as you do in your district, Colleen, but in order to get that initial assessment done, get the information into the schools so that they are giving them appropriate instruction, and also for if and when there is an audit, that they have that information ready for the auditors, and at the same time they're getting their funding. I believe it's $15.83 a year for each of those students. So it is an efficient process for the regular ELL students in Richmond as well.
And it probably does make a difference, obviously, that we do have a lot of students, domestic and international students, that are requiring ELL assessments and support, and that's been the case in Richmond for a long time as well. Our district has lots of experience in ELL assessments and development curriculum and whatnot.
I'm going to see if I can send this to everyone. I'll give you the prices again. People have asked for it.
And then another question about the recording link. Yes, if it's certainly, we're all happy if it's helpful and useful for you and your colleagues. We're happy to share this presentation as well as a recording link for sure.
So there's our prices again, and there is, for this event, we are waiving the startup fees, and there is no annual cost, and codes are non-expiring. Any other questions folks might have? We really appreciate you taking the time to see this.
So there doesn't seem to be any additional questions. So once again, we'd really like to thank you for joining this session. It's great to have your participation, and we will send you that link of the recording of the link for this. We'll send it to all of you, and please contact us. The contact information is there, and the contact information for the Richmond International team is there as well. So thank you very, very much for joining us, and we really appreciate your time, and look forward to hearing from you. And thanks to everyone, Richmond side and CM Global side. Thanks very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye, everyone. Thank you.